Welcome everybody to another lecture of this self-knowledge course. Today, as we do every Saturday, we'll continue with the lecture number 21 of the Phase B cycle, entitled, as you can see here, The Inner Christ and the Death of the Causal Selves. In this lecture, we will delve deeper into what the Christ is and the work it must do to eliminate the heads of legions from our inner world and thus achieve resurrection and immortality. If you have any questions regarding this topic, please leave them in the comment section down below, and at the end we'll be Dale in the comments will be answering them and clarifying any concerns you may have regarding this topic. We'll start by remembering what Christ is. Unfortunately, we have been led to believe that Christ is a person, and we have been hidden the fact that the Christ is a fire, a force that we are all called to embody. By making us think that Christ is a person, we have been led to follow him fanatically. And the true teachings left to us by the Master Jesus, who at one time incarnated this Christ force and left us the path we should follow to also embody this Christ force, have been distorted. Master Jesus carried out the cosmic drama where he demonstrated with his life and brought to public life what every initiate must live within themselves to achieve Christification. And thanks to this cosmic drama, the meaning of initiation was opened to all humanity. Unfortunately, there has also been an attempt to hide the cosmic drama he carried out and the teaching of the three factors for the revolution of consciousness: spiritual birth, psychological death, and sacrifice for humanity. Master Jesus has not been the only one to embody this Christ force on this planet. Like him, masters from other times and cultures have achieved this, as we were able to study in lecture 28 of Phase A. Many of them are even known to us, such as Buddha, Zoroaster, Plato, Saint Francis of Assisi, Saint Germain, Saint Teresa of Jesus, etc., etc. And we can see that the process of Christification was taught in many cultures, even though it wasn't known by that term. For example, in Egypt, a person who performed this work was Osirified. Something very interesting we can see is how many entities from different cultures bear great similarity to the Master Jesus. For example, we see these figures here, and if we look into their lives, we'll realize that they were born on December 25th of a virgin in a manger, had 12 disciples, performed miracles, died crucified, and were resurrected on the third day. This is why many people believe that Jesus never existed, or that his story was invented or plagiarized from other cultures or religions. What these people don't know is that all this information has an esoteric meaning and is a map or path to follow to achieve Christification. And what was special about Master Jesus was that he lived this path publicly to open the meaning of initiation to the planet, as I said before. That is why, although Christ is born 1,000 times in Bethlehem, it is useless if he is not born in our hearts as well. Symbolizing this, that we must come to embody this Christic force, not just believe in the historical Christ and think that for this reason we will be saved. And even if he had died and risen on the third day from the dead, that is useless if he doesn't die and rise again within us too. Christ is the fire of fire, the flame of flame, the astral signature of fire. On the cross of the martyr of the Calvary, as you can see here, the mystery of Christ is defined with a single word, consisting of 4 letters, INRI. Ignis natura renovatur integram. Fire unceasingly renews nature. As you can see, this word does not mean king of the Jews, as has been erroneously established. This fire has the power to create, but also to destroy, according to laws. Everything that exists has been created through this fire or energy. Fire has the power to unite all atoms and create universes, as well as the power to disintegrate universes. Trying to discover the nature and essence of fire is trying to discover God, whose real presence has always been revealed under the fiery appearance. For example, we can see in some verses of the Bible the burning bush that we can find in Exodus and the fire of Sinai found in Exodus 2 are the two manifestations through which God appeared to Moses. Also as a flame-colored being of jasper and sardonyx seated on an incandescent and glowing throne, St. John describes the owner of the universe in the Apocalypse. Our God is a devouring fire, writes St. Paul in his epistle to the Hebrews. Also, maybe we have heard about the fire of the Holy Spirit. Well, the intimate Christ is latent in our seed. Let us also remember that temptation is fire and that the triumph over temptation is light. For the Christ to be born in us, we must work with the three factors for the revolution of consciousness: psychological death, spiritual birth, and sacrifice for humanity. The Christ will emerge internally in the work related to the dissolution of the psychological I. Since the Christ, that fire, that energy is trapped within each of our psychological defects. And when we feed them by letting them manifest, we give the defects more of our fire or Christic energy. When we practice death and do not succumb to our desires or temptations that arise, we will be releasing the fire, that Christic force that our defects have trapped. Then that released fire must be melted in our spine through the practice of suprasex. And in this way we create the existential berries of the being. And we also must sacrifice for humanity, give this knowledge in a free and pure form to everybody, and this is going to generate the merits to advance in this inner work. Until we get to create the first 5 bodies and incarnate our human soul, becoming true men. If we don't previously become men, it is not possible for the Son of Man to be born, which is the Christ. Let us remember that before incarnating the human soul, it will be presented to us the trail of Nirvana, where we will be given the choice of Nirvana, which is the spiral path, or the direct path that leads us to Christification. In front of the guardian of the world of the will, if in front of the guardian of the world of the will we do not decide on the direct path, the narrow and difficult path, it will not be possible for the individual Christ to be born. If we choose the direct path, we will incarnate the human soul, we will become true men, and we will unite with our divine soul in what is known as the perfect matrimony. From this union of the human with the divine, the Christ is gestated and born. Obviously, the inner Christ only comes to us at the peak of our intentional efforts and voluntary suffering. The advent of the Christic fire is the most important event of our own life. The intimate Lord, the Christ, must take charge of our entire psyche, of the 5 cylinders of the organic machine, of all our mental, emotional, motor, instinctive, and sexual processes. The intimate Christ, the celestial fire, must be born within us, and is actually born when we have advanced enough in the psychological work. When he is born, He must be responsible for removing the merchants from the temple and eliminating all those animals that still inhabit our psychology. And well, at the moment of birth, the second mountain, known as the apocalypse or the end by fire, begins. And let us remember that the fire is the Christ. On this second mountain, one must continue working with the three factors for the revolution of consciousness, of course. And the golden bodies must be created, since the solar bodies would not tolerate the voltage of the Christ. The harsh karma derived from crimes against the Holy Spirit must be paid also. And the elimination of the heads of the legion must take place. These are the roots of the ego. These defects are also known as the capital sins. We are talking about anger, gluttony, laziness, lust, pride, greed, and envy. From these heads come the millions of defects we have within us. And for the ego to cease to exist within us, we must remove its seeds or roots. The Christ will develop esoterically from 7 to 7, as he creates the golden bodies and descends and eliminates the egos found in the submerged spheres of planet Earth. To create the physical body of gold, the Christ must descend into the submerged sphere of the moon and eliminate those selves or defects that remained from the first mountain. Then he descends to the sphere of Mercury, and there he will eliminate the personality. When he finishes, he has already created his vital body of gold. To create the golden astral body, he has to descend and eliminate the selves that remain in the spheres of Venus, the Sun, and Mars. For the creation of the causal body, the causal body of gold, he must descend to the spheres of Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune. In the process of creating the causal body, the initiate begins the stations of the cross, which must be lived in the internal worlds, just as Master Jesus lived it externally and publicly. He must eliminate the eyes of betrayal and die within himself on the cross of sex, which is a practice we're going to be teaching on conference number 24. At that time, he will also have to pay for his harsh karma by suffering from a very painful illness that comes from the crime of fornication and that cannot be negotiated but must be paid for with pain. This process is known also as the 8 years of Job. Although it is a very painful process, it will serve to allow the master to see and eliminate those selves or causal selves. During this process, the golden, bodic, and atmic bodies will also be created. The creation of these three bodies represents the 3 days Christ spent in hell after his death, as we saw in the cosmic drama led by Master Jesus. Since everything that happened in the life of Master Jesus has an esoteric meaning, okay? Everything he said, every person he met, have an esoteric meaning. At that moment, the Christ is resurrected because he has completely eliminated all ego from within himself. He has risen from the dead. He becomes an immortal being with 99% of free and awakened consciousness. All that remains is to rescue 1% of cosmic consciousness, and that will be done on the third mountain by breaking the mechanicalness and merging the 3 laws into one so he can unite to the Father and achieve the self-realization. That's why we repeat that even if Christ is born 1,000 times in Bethlehem, it's useless if he isn't also burned in our hearts. Because if we don't embody this Christic force, we won't be able to completely dissolve the ego within us and achieve the inner self-realization of our being. And well, thank you very much for joining us in this conference, and we invite you to the next one where we'll explore the intimate life of each one. We'll discover the three types of life that exist and why we shouldn't mix them. Thank you very much and see you next time. Remember that if you have any comment, well, you can let it down in the comment section and we'll be answering and clarifying any doubt you may have. Also, you can unite to our WhatsApp group. You are going to find in the description of this video the access link to the WhatsApp group. In that group, we send completely free the material of the conference.